Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another one of my videos. I thought I'd do a quick video on servicing your car's automatic transmission. Now a lot of people actually don't know that if you have an automatic car, your transmission actually does need an oil change from time to time. It's not going to need an oil change every time you take your car in to a mechanic or the dealer to service the engine and change the engine oil, but there are set intervals that the manufacturer of the transmission or the manufacturer might specify. I've got the Audi and I've got the Jag. They both have two different transmissions, but both transmissions are made by ZF. I actually wanted to service the Jag's transmission this year, and I was told by the dealer that I couldn't do it because it was too soon. Apparently, you're supposed to service the Jag's transmission. It's a 6-speed ZF transmission, and the code for the transmission is 6HP26. That is the code of this transmission. Now, this car has the same transmission that you will find in an Audi A6 6-speed, in the BMW 5 Series, the older ones, the 6 speeds. I'm not sure about Mercedes, but there are a number of cars that actually use this exact same transmission. And the Audi has a 5-speed transmission, also a ZF, and its code is 5HP19. Now you can actually check what type of transmission your car has. I know General Motors tend to build their own transmissions, and my Cadillac CTS, which I've never done a video on, and which I don't know why, but I've never done a video on the car when I had it. So but that car had a transmission service just before I sold it, and General Motors was also telling me that the transmission shouldn't be serviced and it's non-serviceable and this kind of thing. Having read the specifications in the service schedule, which you don't get when in the service manual of the car, but you've got to download it off the internet. But having read the service schedule, it actually said that if the car operates at high temperatures, very hilly terrain, in a hot climate, which we have where I live, the transmission should be serviced every 4 years or every 100,000 kilometers or 60,000 miles. So I insisted that they do it, and they eventually did do it, and they covered it against the maintenance plan and that kind of thing. The Jag's maintenance plan is basically run out now this year, and that is why on its last service I tried to have the transmission serviced, and they said to me that I've got to wait, it's 10 years. The transmission only gets serviced every 10 years or every 160,000 kilometers. Now that is about 100,000 miles. So every 100,000 miles, the ZF 6HP26 transmission needs to be serviced, which I don't think I'm really going to do. I think I'm going to have it serviced on its next service. But I thought I'd just update you guys on what I've done to the Audi, because the Audi's transmission was serviced about 2 years ago, and I don't know why, but something just said to me the transmission needs another service, because it's older, it's much older than the Jag, it's got higher mileage, it's got about 140,000 kilometers on the clock now, which is about 80,000 miles, and I took the car in about a week ago to Audi Center, and I had the transmission oil changed, and in order to do that they drain the oil out and they have to take the sump off the transmission and replace this filter. Now I asked them for the old parts back, and I just want to try and show you guys. This is what the filter looks like. You can see there, and it has a little O-ring over there as well. So I bought a new filter. I supplied them the filter so that they didn't have to wait, because they wouldn't have had stock of this part. So I ordered it from the factory ahead of time, as well as the gasket. And this is the oil pan gasket that needs to be replaced when they take the oil pan off in order to get this out. So I had a good look at the filter, and as you can see, it's not that dirty. It's actually pretty clean. So this is the other end. So, you know, the filter actually, I think the filter goes in like that in the transmission. I'm not sure. I speak under correction. I haven't actually seen it. And you can actually see the part number on the oil filter, on the filter is actually a ZF part number. It says ZF 0501209251, looks like. So I don't know if you can read that part number, if my camera can actually focus on that, but it's a ZF part number. And this is supplied from the factory. So I had this replaced, and I must be honest, immediately I could feel a difference on the transmission. It seems much smoother, and I think the oil must have degraded just a little bit since 2 years ago when I had the oil changed. I've done a lot of mileage since the oil was last changed on the transmission. And you know, our summers are very hot here. We have 40 degrees Celsius days in summer here, and the car operates on those days because I drive the car almost daily. So, well, I do drive it daily, not almost daily. The Jag I drive maybe once every 2 weeks. And I actually drove it this morning. Now, in preparation for the Jag's service in, I think it was July, I took it in for its service. I thought I was going to have the transmission service done. So what I did is actually, I bought the oil pan and filter for the Jag. You have to actually replace the whole sump on the car, because the filter is actually built into the sump. The filter is actually in here. So, and again it says full Tran. It's made by the same company that makes the Audi one, and made in Germany, IBS full Tran, and it has the same codes on it. So I don't know if you can read that, but that is the filter for the Jag's transmission. So this was a very, very pricey thing to buy. It was around the equivalent of $370, because the exchange rate in our country is not very good as opposed to the pound, the British pound. So I'm keeping that there for when I actually do service the Jag's transmission, which will probably be next year. I don't think I'm going to leave it for another like 5 years or so. I don't think I should do that. And that is an expensive service to do because the oil's not cheap, the labor is not cheap, because I insist on taking the car to Jaguar. But if you take your car to an independent mechanic, they can do these services as well. If you watch Scotty Kilmer's channel, he has a video that he also does on doing a transmission service when the car is not shifting properly or it won't shift into gear. If you find your car is sluggish with changing gears or is changing gears rather hard, if you feel that your car's transmission is just not changing right, it's probably not the transmission that's faulty, it's probably just a dirty oil filter and dirty oil. And when you actually take the sump off, you'll see in this particular sump, these are magnets. These two things here are magnets. So if there are any metal particles that come off in the transmission, which happens normally, in fact, on a transmission from daily use, those tiny little metal fragments will be attracted to the magnets. And the Audi has a little, in its own sump, it also has two magnets, and those magnets attract little filings. And the thing is, if you have a newer car with an 8-speed transmission or a 7-speed transmission or a 9 or a 10-speed, this is how high these transmissions are going now. You probably won't have this on your mind, but if you have an 8-speed transmission in your car, chances are you've got a car that's 2 or 3 years old, and if it's 4 years old and it definitely has not had a transmission service yet, I would genuinely look at doing it, especially if you want to keep the car for a long period of time. If you're thinking of, and you love your car, I mean, I love my Jag and I really don't want to sell this car. I would like to keep this car for many, many years to come, so I want to look after it. Same with the Audi. I love both my cars. I want to sell them. I'd like to keep them as long as possible, so I'd like to look after them. So if you bought a new car 3 or 4 years ago and you're planning on keeping it another 4 years, I would definitely consider looking after the transmission and changing the oil. If you go to ZF's website, you can actually find all the information you want on all their transmissions, from the 4 speeds to the 5 speeds to the 6 speeds, the 7s, the 8s and the 9s. So I hope this info has helped, and happy motoring.